Indianapolis, probably one of the best football games I've ever seen. They were down 28 points. They came back, won 45-44. Andrew Luck, by the way. When you're speaking about Andy Dalton and Andrew Luck and just comparing the two, even though they're incomparable right now, Andrew Luck is 18-2 in a touchdown or less amount of points in a game. He's fantastic.
Is that how they're saying it these days?
No, that was a poor way to put it, as a matter of fact. But did you understand what I said?
Well, there's some things you're younger, and there's some things the kids are saying that I don't know.
Yeah? What else? Twerking? You understand
twerking,
that?
Yeah, that twerking.
You don't understand twerking?
No, I think twerking. Twitter, I'm on Twitter.
Oh, you're on Twitter.
Yeah.
Instagram? Not on that one.
So when it's 7 or
less
fewer points.
Is less acceptable as well?
Go listen to your friend Ben.
Look.
So 18-2, that's impressive. Yeah.
Look, Tufts, Virginia, Indiana. Okay? All right, moving along. Alex Smith, we were talking about this earlier. It was by far the best game I've ever seen him play. Because they
Well, it wasn't by far. I mean, the championship game against the Saints was spectacular.
That game where he went 21 of 22 against the Cardinals for 4 touchdowns and no interceptions, then lost his job.
Yes.
That was a pretty good game.
That was a good game. Yeah. That was the game right before he was fired.
Right before he got fired.
How many times did they say game manager about Alex Smith in that game?
That's just sort of what they've said about him forever.
Yeah, but he made plays. They weren't a game manager.
Yeah.
Why do they call him a game manager?
44 points on the road. It's pretty impressive.
Because he doesn't throw for 344 yards. That's why they call him a game manager. He did the other day, but he generally, it's just a thing that they say to say that, okay, he's not a spectacular Andrew Luck type, Peyton Manning type, Drew Brees type quarterback. But he still wins and he's successful, so he's a game manager.
We'll get to the Colts in just a second.
They don't like as with Trent Dilfer, they don't ask him to win the game with his arm. They use Jamaal Charles. The idea was to have a tough defense, was to control the clock.
They couldn't use Jamaal
Charles. Andy Reid is a little bit more of a gambler, but they punt, they play defense to try to get field position when it's time to, as with the Niners did, when it's time to kick a field goal. You continue to rack up points and win a game, and there aren't any dazzling offensive plays. So, we all know what it means.
So, unfortunately, you are rubbing off on me in the way of we need to go for it on 4th down. And the New York Times has this one piece. If we could pull up the first screenshot. This is via Bleacher Report. Basically, should they or should they not have gone for it on 4th down in 3 different situations? Now, the New York Times basically said that they should have gone for it on 4th down. So if we could zoom out just a little bit so we could see the distance. So the first one, it was in the first quarter. Let's just jump to the 4th quarter. 8 yards to go on the Colts' 41-yard line. In the 4th quarter, 14:47 left. They say go for it. Andy Reid punt it. 5:40 left. They say go for it. They kick the field goal.
Who's they?
The New York Times.
Based on the statistical model.
It's the editorial board. It's Sulzberger. Here's the thing.
Yes.
Say what you want. The Chiefs' defense lost this game, and
they were also really hurt.
Well, okay, they were, but that's what they let up 45 points when their offense scored 44 points. The decisions that Reid make, you can go back and look at them, and as the Times has done, as I'm sure you and Ben have done, and everybody who watches football has done. But the point is, their defense had so many opportunities to stop on 3rd down, on 2nd and long, and didn't. And that's what happened.
I agree and disagree. There's no question the defense lost that game. They gave up 45 points. That said, at each moment, when the defense had given up 38 points, you have to recognize we might give up 45 points at this point. You make these decisions in part based on the kind of game it is. And at that point, the Colts scored every time they had the ball.
In part, but you also make it on the type of season it was too.
Yeah, but that's also okay.
But their defense, I don't think they ever believed that their defense was as bad as they've been playing recently.
Yeah, but but that's a coaching.
That's a miscalculation.
That would be a miscalculation. Yeah. So you're in a game, and also it should change to some extent game to game. You see, look,
absolutely,
we're exhausted, we're hurt, we're beaten. This guy has our number.
That's the most important part, is how it is in the game. But I think they got addicted to how it was in the beginning of the season. Like, our defense can do anything.
So I think that you need to, what is happening, at least in the NFL, and the New York Times piece, which I haven't obviously read yet, but is that there's a recognition that there are answers to these questions. I and some others have been saying for 15 years that teams should be not punting and not kicking field goals. I don't mean, obviously.
You made me a believer, to be honest with you. You totally shifted my thinking.
And it's just, and now it's starting to, there's a consensus growing. I think everybody watching that game thought, boy, if the Colts get the ball back when they're inside of 1 score, they're going to go ahead. what was actually surprising about that is that after the Colts scored to go ahead was that the Chiefs didn't come down and kick a field goal to win the game.
Yeah.
By the way, we're talking about the coaching gaps of Andy Reid.
Yeah.
That was a good point. They only called 8 runs in the second half as well, so they didn't really try to work the clock at all.
They had Jamaal Charles out and Niall Davis out.
Niall Davis went out later on in the fourth quarter.
It doesn't matter. Jamaal Charles' injury lost this game, not because he was going to save the game.
So the defense and Jamaal Charles' injury is what you're saying.
Yeah, the defense, the Colts' defense could make the easiest adjustment in football, and you know, that took away their #1 weapon without having to do anything. So that changed the scope of the game. But that was what the game was. So the Chiefs, at a certain point, couldn't overcome it.
And the Colts defense, which gave up 38 points through the first possession of the second half after the turnover to start the second half. Colts defense, which had played exceptionally well the last 3 weeks of the season with overwhelming Houston and Jacksonville and beating the Chiefs with Jamaal Charles handily in Kansas City, and then looked terrible in this game. Alex Smith looked
first half
and the first drive of the second half, although it was a short drive. Then they stopped them. Then they really played, except they played really well, and they held them to field goals and long, and then made that great. There was time for the Chiefs to get into field goal range inside where Ryan Suckup could have probably missed a 53-yard field goal.
Sent the Steelers to the win this game.
By the way, there was also one other clock.
But real quick, how close did, Dwayne Bowe was definitely out of bounds, but gets that toe in, they kick a field goal, they win the game.
And they win the game, yeah.
Sure. Once again, we're only talking about one team. So shifting to the Colts, out of anything, Andrew Luck had a horrible first half, as we can all agree. But then he rallied back with 4 touchdowns, which was solid, incredibly solid. How good has he made T.Y. Hilton and all those other receivers and Kobe Fleener? Hilton was...
How weird is it that there are 2 Stanford tight ends on the Colts? It isn't weird because Andrew Luck is there.
Andrew Luck,
That's weird.
It's weird, yeah.
But the argument can be made, guys, that he is making them so much better. Like, look, Hilton was wide open on that 60-some yard touchdown
Hilton
pass.
Turns out is a good receiver.
He's a good receiver who barely made the team this year.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Came from Florida International, I believe, and he barely made the team. He was trying to beat out Darius Hayward-Bay at the beginning of the year.
That guy's a great player, Darius Hayward-Bay. He's a good football player.
Actually, he had some great blocks yesterday.
Did he?
Yeah, no.
He had some good blocks?
Literally the other day. Yeah, he did. He actually, 2 huge blocks.
Good.
So you're not being sarcastic?
I'm not being sarcastic at all.
Okay. Ben was.
No, picking him before Michael Crabtree was astonishing now when you look at it.
Yeah.
Al Davis loves those speedsters.
Yep.
Yeah, speed matters.
Yeah.
It's just
speed matters. This is the second largest comeback, by the way, 32 points against Buffalo against the Oilers in 1992.